My name is Tony Perkins, aka TP, lifelong resident of Jersey City. And I'm here to represent for my brother Educational Gilmore, and this is what we're gonna do. I just want to say a few words about this brother, and I just want to highlight one thing in particular about him, and that's his work ethic. His work ethic is amazing. His work ethic is amazing. I came in here this evening and, you know, everything was all over the place, and I look up and Educational Gilmore is hanging this banner that we see right here, and it just shows his work ethic. And it's just amazing. It's very inspirational to me. And that's what we look for in our elected officials, their work ethic. So with that being said, we're going to get into our first guest speaker. This is a Councilman Ward F event, so it's only right that we started off with a former councilman of Ward F, a good family member of my family, a pillar in the community, has been doing great things in the community and continues to do great things. Actually, I just want to let y'all know he's retired now, so he's living his best life. He's living his best life. And I just want to introduce this brother, and please give him your undivided attention. And just to let you guys know, he's coming to the podium right now, or to the stage. My brother, Dan Wiley.
All right. Thank you, TP.
You got it, bro.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's indeed my pleasure, my privilege to be here with you today on this occasion to talk about Educational Gilmore, Frank Gilmore, or Frank. Let me just share with you a small bit of history. I first met Frank, I'm not going to say how many years ago, but he lived across the street from me on Randolph Avenue. And we, that is the Randolph Avenue Block Association, claimed him as one of our sons. Now, Frank has lived in other places and throughout Jersey City and other neighborhoods, but Randolph Avenue Block Association, we claim him as our son. One of the things that I need to say about Frank is that when he was helping me to form the Block Association, our motto is building a community one neighbor at a time. Frank has continued to be consistent with that purpose, particularly in terms of who he has been for Jersey City and for the youth of our city. I can tell you that, and I don't want to be long, but I have so much that I can say about Frank. I have to try to make it short, I know, because other people need to come before you to make their own statements as well. But I recall a time when a family was having some difficulty with one of their oldest sons. And the mother came and spoke with me. I immediately turned to Frank because at that time he had just started a mentoring program. And let me say that when Frank began to work with this young man and spend time with him and bring him into his group, that young man's family, his household, began to show signs of change. He himself began to perform better in school. Frank is all about the young people in our city. He has a long story, and his story in terms of giving back is very important, very significant. That's why he's a role model for our kids. And that's why I'm here tonight to say to you that Educational Gilmore, as you folks know him as, but I know him as Frank. Some people know him as Frankie Frank. But with all kidding aside, that's my brother. You know, and I do consider him, because I'm an elder in the community, as one of my community sons. There's another community son of mine that's here this evening as well. That's Chris Gadsden. When I was working in the area of black studies at Jersey City State College, Chris sought me out because my brother, who was a retired police officer along with his granddad, worked together in Jersey City. So Chris comes to my office one day and he says, "Are you Dan Wiley?" I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "Hi, my name is Chris Gadsden. And my grandfather told me that I should look you up once I get to this campus." And I said, "What for? What is the reason?" He says, "I want to know what it takes to be a councilman." Chris was about 17 or 18 years old.
All right, Chris.
He's been consistent in his pursuit, and the information or advice that I gave him, not only did he perform those deeds or those tasks, but he exceeded them.
Yeah.
And that's why I call him one of my community sons. And that's why I love both him and Frank. And together, this team of independent, thinking, strong, young black men will make a difference in Jersey City. When I say make a difference, you need independent thinking individuals, not folks who are dependent in their thinking on others who tell them what to do. Not folks who are profiteers because they own a business to see how they can put more treasure in their pockets. Not individuals who are opportunists or spoilers who think that they can make a difference in this race, particularly in Ward F. So folks, when you go to the polls in November, you need to go there as an educated voter. You need to know the difference between a people's representative and a politician. You know how you see how I broke that word up? A politician? Because there's too many people who represent you now in city government who are politicians. And so, I'm asking you to become that educated voter. That voter who can make a difference when you walk into the polls, when you pull that lever for education of Gilmore, when you pull that lever for Chris Gadsden, when you pull that lever for Brother Spears, when you pull that lever for other individuals who make up that team of independent representatives. Representatives, that's what Jersey City needs. Representatives who are honest, representatives who are sincere, representatives who are loyal to their principles and to their values, because those are the folks who will make the difference in your life and in the lives of your children going forward. Now, why do I say that? I say that because I was there. I know what it means to be a councilman in Jersey City government. And when I stopped being a councilman and went back to work at New Jersey City University in the field of black studies, when I retired, I came back as a state and federal grant writer for the city of Jersey City. And then I retired again, most recently. But I also had an opportunity to work in the Department of Recreation. A shameful place. A shameful place. And a set of shameful politics around that time of my tenure, for which I cannot go into for other technical reasons. But if you follow the history, if you follow the reading of the newspaper accounts, know that that struggle still continues. We've always been in a struggle to bring change in Jersey City. The same issues that I fought against when I was on the city council, why are they still alive in Ward F today? And other sections of the city, whatever issues that they may have had don't exist as poignant or as sharply as they do in Ward F. When I did my thing, that's the reason why we have the Bethune Center. The true history of the Bethune Center lays with my efforts and the efforts of the individuals who made up that community at that time, as did the home ownership program that came up and around Dwight and Fulton. The Urban League. I made certain through the help of community people that that building that they now occupy was sold to them by Providence Savings Bank for the awesome sum of $1. So when I talk about independent leadership, when I talk about creative leadership, I lived it. I came out of the formation of the New Jersey Black Issues Convention, the National Black Independent Political Party. And what I'm saying to you this evening, that Frank and Chris remind me of myself. And you can trust them with your future. You can trust them with your future and with the future of your children. What has to change? Jersey City has to change. This leadership that we now find ourselves under, it must go with some challenge. Put those brothers and the other independent members of the independent leadership team into office. Take it beyond just what we do tonight. One thing I want to say to you, I want to quote one of my heroes, Marcus Garvey, who once said, never be discouraged by what people do or fail to do. You recognize the good work that has to be done, and you be about the business of that work. Folks, I'm calling on you to be about the business of that good work. I'm calling on you to be about the business, as John Lewis said, get into some good trouble. Organize. Serve the people of Jersey City in ways in which you want to see the city change. They said if you want to be about change, see the change in yourself that you need to be about.
That's right.
And make it happen. Make it happen, folks. Don't just sit back and believe that Frank or Chris or June or Spears can do it all by themselves. They can't. They need you to multiply yourself into 2 or 3 people. Call on family members. Call on friends. Make that difference. I ask of you to do that. So the work that I started and others who were part of that period of time, when I served, and I'm talking about the Kabili Tayaris, I'm talking about the Glenn Cunninghams, I'm talking about the Joe Charles, I'm talking about even Francis Thompson, I'm talking about folks, including Earl Morgan, the journalist. I'm talking about folks who stood proud and who stood tall and was not afraid to speak truth to power. Frank ain't afraid of any damn thing. All right? Chris ain't afraid of any damn thing. All right? Chris is probably the best school principal in the history of the Jersey City School District, as I told him today. I'm proud of these 2 brothers because I was there when they were young men, and I see who they are today as fathers, as husbands. And y'all got to be just as proud of them as I am.
That's right. We are.
You see, I had people in my day who talked the same way about me, about Kabili. Julian Robinson, for one, who was the first powerful brother to run for mayor of Jersey City. Okay? I can talk about so many others, but time won't allow me. But there's one thing that I want to do. I spoke about the Randolph Avenue Block Association, MC, in between there's Myrtle and Claremont Avenue. Frank helped me to build that organization. I have the first 2 newsletters. Now, when have you ever heard of block associations putting together newsletters to distribute within their general neighborhood to talk about the good work that we did for our community? We organized a job fair for the youth in Jersey City at the Urban League. We did very well with that. You see, and Frank was right there. And so, not only did I want to give Frank to remind him, not that I have to, of who he is and where he come from.
All right.
Because he already knows, and every time he speaks to y'all, he gives you that history, that river flow of what we must do. And I'm so glad to be a part of that tone in his voice. That he can speak forcefully and effectively without fear. My brother ain't afraid of anything, not because of his size, but because he got truth on his side.
That's right. That's right.
Because he got truth on his side.
Yes.
All right?
Come
And
on.
to tell you because I spoke the word truth, I want y'all to know the true history about the Bethune Center. And the fact of the matter that the parking lot that's now going to become a park, when we first worked together to formulate the idea from yours truly, to have a community center because of the 100 new families that was moving into the affordable housing that was built on Dwight, Stegman, Fulton. The community center, that site was chosen by yours truly and the community residents in that area. But across the street where the parking lot was supposed to have been a bridge that was built from the center into that parking lot for a new recreation center.
Wow. Wow.
But somebody else got that to serve a different purpose. So Frank, I have this information that I want to give to you. And folks, I'm out. I think I've talked too long in order to save my time.
No, you did
But
not.
thank you for welcoming me and honoring the fact that I'm one of the trailblazers.
That's right.
Part of the work that I did in Jersey City, there's a line. Jersey City is almost more than 200 years old, perhaps. I don't have the exact number, but let me just say this, that throughout its history, there's been a specific number of African-American representatives in City Hall. I happen to be the 6th on the list. Let's put Frank Gilmore's name on that list of African-American representatives.
That's
as
right.
well.
That's right.
Blessings and power to you. Thank you.
And Chris Gadsden. Give it up for Dan Wiley, y'all.
Yes.
Did y'all hear that word we used? Politician. You know, and that's real because we got a lot of politicians running around here today. But we're going to make the change because change is good, and that's what Jersey City needs. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring up our next guest speaker. She's a former Jersey City Recreation employee, currently now Assistant Director of Human Resources at the Jersey City Board of Education.
Okay.
And she's been very helpful to me. You know, I'm not sure if she crossed any of you guys' path, but she's a very resourceful woman, and I appreciate her for the work she's put in. 30 years of hard work at recreation, and we appreciate that. You know, doing it all for our youth who so need it, And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our next guest speaker, and her name is Miss Sabrina Harrell.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. I just want to say it's my pleasure and it's an honor to be here this evening in support of Educational Gilmore, Frankie Frank, that's my Frankie Frank, but more so Councilman Frank Gilmore, because I'm claiming it. I have already claimed it. Once he determined that he was going to run for councilman, I knew he was the one. He is the one that's going to lead our community, because he's been showing it all along. Way before he even announced that he was going to run for councilman, Frank was already running. Frank was running. If you watch his show on Facebook, he's always informative. He's letting the community know what's going on. He studies the issues. He brings on the people that we need to know about what's going on in our community. He is informing us. So by watching him on that show, by working with Frank and knowing Frank, I already know what to expect from him as Councilman of Ward F. Frank is going to bring a level of hard work. Frank is he's going to bring dignity. He's going to work hard for the people of the community. He's already doing that. He's not even elected. But he's out there every single day fighting for our community, doing the job, actually, that the councilman that's in office right now should be doing, but is not doing. Frank, on his own dime and on his own time, is fighting for the rights of our people. the rights of those parents who are losing their children every single day. Almost every day, there's some type of crime or shooting that is happening in our community. And no one from this administration seems to really care. But Frank Gilmore, he cares. And that is the reason why each and every one of us should be out there supporting Frank, letting our neighbors, our friends, our family know that this is the man to lead us out of this situation that we're in. We need change. We need good, positive change, and Frank Gilmore is that person. Frank, when I first met him, which was in the Department of Recreation, he came to my office one day, and we were having a conversation. And he told me his story. And it was very touching. I had no idea that Frank had gone through the adversities that he had gone through to become the young man that he is today. And it's because of his struggles that has defined his character, his drive for what's right, his drive for doing for the kids in our community. He works hard for our kids. He works hard for our senior citizens. He works hard for everyone in our community. If you need Frank, Frank is going to be there for you. Jermaine, I'm still waiting to hear from him as to what's going on in our community, because I don't hear anything. There was a shooting this morning. I haven't heard anything from our councilman, but it did happen in Ward F. Frank, it did happen in Ward F, right? Because I know you were there, you reported it. But our own councilman didn't. So I'm just asking each and every one of you to give your support to Frank Gilmore. Make sure that your friends and family are registered to vote, because you know we can support Frank verbally, but what really counts is our votes. We have to get out there and vote. You know, Stacey Abrams, she showed us the power of the vote. That's where our power lies. But we have to utilize that power by coming out, getting our neighbors out, getting our family and our friends out to vote on election day. But even before that, the work begins, because we have to make sure, starting from these 18-year-olds, hey, let's go visit these schools. We have plenty of young people turning 18. Let's get them registered. Let's make them understand, you guys, guess what? You have power to make change in your community. So let's start changing the dynamics of our community and vote for Frank Gilmore, because he will lead us. Chris Gadsden. Even though this is Frank Gilmore's, but I can't leave out I can't leave out Chris, because they're brothers and they are on the same page. They understand. They grew up in this community. They are dedicated to our community. They will fight. They will stand up and trust and believe they're not going to be making deals behind closed doors. Okay? They're not going to be making those deals behind closed doors. They're going to stand up for each and every last one of you. Why? Because they are true to their community. And understand, by us voting for the independents, that's where the power is at. Strategy, people. Hey, a mayor, Fulop, is only as strong as his council. But we have the power to change the dynamics of that. Get out and vote, and make sure that you vote that independent line, because that will be the difference in how the next 4 years of the city of Jersey City will look. I want to thank you so much for this time. Just please get out and vote. Frank, I love you. Chris, I love you. And we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Sabrina. Give Sabrina another round of applause. This is great here. You know, it's a nice, intimate setting, you know, one-on-one, up and close and personal with everybody, which I love. And we get to chop it up with our elected officials here. Educational Gilmore, Chris Gadsden, you know. It's a beautiful thing. You know, it's good when you can talk and touch your council people, you know, who represent your ward that you live in. Because a lot of times today, like Sabrina said, you know, a lot of guys or a lot of our elected officials are MIA. And we can't reach them, you know, especially in a time of need. You know, everybody has issues going on when we need somebody to just pull us through. And I know it's a lot of times when I might need to talk to somebody, and Frank Gilmore is always there. He nosy though. He nosy. He nosy. He always all up in my business. If y'all know Frank Gilmore, he's nosy. But I love him for that because, right, that's it. And that's all it is. He just wants to know what's going on. How can he help? And that's it. And I appreciate him and love him dearly for that. Chris is humble, quiet, low-key, the principal of my alma mater, Lincoln High School. And I love him for that, even though he's a Snyder Tiger at heart. But it's all good, Chris, it's all good. I love you, brother. So, right, thank you, Taylor. But I just want to bring up our next guest speaker. And wow, this woman here is amazing for our community, with our youth. Man, doing so much hard work every single day, putting in that work in the community. And I mean in the community, in the heart, in the trenches. She is there. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Chief. I know, Mike, I know. Chief Executive of Hudson Partnership, CMO, Robin Gorman.
Yes. How's everyone doing tonight? All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it for Frank. Let's get some noise going. All right. For those of you who don't know what Hudson Partnership CMO is, we work with youth across Hudson County. Right now we have about 820 kids that we're working with. Kids that have all sorts of issues, mental health issues, behavioral health issues, substance abuse, juvenile justice involvement, autism disorder. And a couple years ago, I was introduced to Frank, and I knew that he did mentorship in the community, and I knew a lot of that was just for free. He was doing that because he loves the youth, he loved his community, he loved the families that live here, and he was doing it even though he had his own children to take care of, he was taking care of other people's kids. And he and I had a chat, and Stephen Campos, who I work very closely with, a lot of you probably know also, our community resource director, we sat down and we offered Frank an opportunity to do some mentorship that would be paid through Hudson Partnership. Because I think people who do this work need to eat. And unfortunately, you know, there's this whole thought of like, well, if you do this work, it should just be out of your heart. You know, like you should just give up your time. You should just completely sacrifice your family. And although Frank had done that for years, it was time. It was time to actually say, no, you're a professional at this. You know, professional doesn't have to be someone who's got the letters after their name and all this other stuff. It's about somebody who actually cares, who's consistent. And I love that former councilman Wiley talked about consistency, because that's what I see with Frank, and that's one of the reasons I love him so much. One of the reasons I was willing to come talk tonight after I moved to Jersey City last night. So I can vote for my friends Lewis. I can vote for Pedro in Ward A. I run an outreach center over on Pacific Avenue here in Ward F, the Cove. Some of you may have heard of that. Frank has made a couple of jokes over time about Robin, I thought you were going to get fired hiring me. Does your board know that I have a record? And my response to that was, who better? Who better to work with youth who are struggling with the same things that he had struggled through, survived, and started to thrive after, right? That's the person that we need, because we know that he can relate on a level that, look, I know what I look like. I know my background, right? I love kids, but I know I'm not the one, right? I have to be smart enough to know who the ones are. And Frank was one of those people. Frank was one of those people. And we've been blessed to have several mentors. TP is one of those mentors as well. Here in Hudson County, when a youth gets in trouble, we can send them off to 3 different detention centers, right? We can send them to Morris County. We can send them to Essex County. We can send them off. But we can't refer them to a recreation center before they get in trouble, and that's a problem. We need to be talking about that, right? We need to be advocating for that. Frank's been advocating for that for years. And the consistency piece that I love is that, and it was mentioned before, every week he's bringing up these issues. He's putting it in people's faces, right? He's not letting it go. Now, from what I just said that I do, I'm more of a social worker than a politician. And I never really got that interested in local politics. I'll tell you what changed my mind. A couple of years back, we had 4 high school students shot and killed within a school year. I know a lot of you know those kids, you know those names, right? That same year, there was a shooting at Newport Mall. There was a press conference immediately. The chief of police was there. The mayor was there. It was a big to-do. Those 4 children died, and nobody said a damn word. That changed my mind about getting involved. That got me to City Hall meetings. That lasted for hours and hours and hours into the wee hours of the morning, right? With no change happening. We already knew what the vote was going to be. We could have all predicted before we went and testified how that was going to turn out, because there were no independent minds on that council. People were voting based on the ticket and who they supported, and not on the people that they were representing, who were coming out in force trying to make change. Now is the time for independent change in Jersey City. This needs to happen. Our children are dying. We are losing a whole generation of young people because people are just apathetic. They're not looking downtown at the South Side. And Frank and Chris and Louis and Pedro, these are folks that are going to step up and speak for the folks that live down here. And now that I'm one of those folks, I'm going to be much louder. So just one quick little story about Frank, just to tell you a little bit about work ethic. Through this whole COVID situation, we had a youth that I was very concerned about. He was in a residential program. He had gone missing. And I said, anybody get in touch with Frank? I bet Frank knows where he's at. Sure enough, get on the phone. Frank's like, hey, I seen that kid at the basketball court. Yeah, let me talk to him. He went, picked up that youth, talked to him, got him back into the program. That's the kind of dedication. That's not something we asked him to do, that's just something he did, right? And that's the type of person that you want on your side. You want someone who's gonna take the initiative, see a problem, step up, man up, pay attention, and care. And that's the type of person that Frank is. And I'm so honored that you asked me to speak, Frank, because I love you, I love your family. Love you all of you. There's a lot of you. I love every single one of you. And I really do want to see this independent ticket be successful, because I think it's the only way that we're really going to see change. Because right now, there's just a rubber stamp. Like I said, we can figure out before we even go into those meetings. That doesn't stop us from going, right? Because we still have to have a voice. We still have to participate. We still have to be heard. It's important to be heard. Not everybody's going to run for office. God bless you guys for running, because it is a thankless job in some ways. I know you're going to give up time from your own families to do this. And not everybody's going to be able or willing to do that. But that doesn't mean that you can't get involved, like was said before. Make sure that you're registered to vote. Make sure that you're getting to the polls. Make sure that you're talking to your friends. Share stuff on Facebook. Share stuff on Instagram. Do a TikTok, do whatever. Do whatever you got to do to get the word out. Frank, I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope you're successful in your quest to become the Ward F councilman. And when you're there, I'll be at the party. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Give a round of applause for Robin Gorman. I just like to say, you know, I'm sitting here listening to all the guest speakers, but I hear a lot of chatter in the back. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but can we just give the speakers their just due while they're up here speaking? Because they're speaking some facts up here. And we all need to know and respect each other's words. So I appreciate that. It's all love in here. It's all love. But moving forward, I just wanted to say a few words before I bring up the next guest speaker about Frank Gilmore, my brother. You know, and what I just want to keep highlighting is his work ethic. And it's so important. You know, everybody has a lot of potential. But if you're not applying that work ethic, it just goes in vain. And he's such an inspiration to me, and he pushes me every single day, you know? And I take that seriously, because his work ethic is not going in vain. You know, a lot of things happen in our city. You know, we have youth that are dying at a rapid pace, and the work that we are putting in as mentors, as advocates for these youth, we sometimes get discouraged. I know I do, you know, and it hurts. But the thing about it, I've never seen Frank really, really upset. You know, he's always smiling, always happy. But the thing about it is, the time that I have seen him upset was when something tragic happened in the community. So that speaks volumes to me. You know, he's a family man, and he has his family to deal with, to maintain, to protect and provide for, and he just walks with his head high, and he's constantly smiling all the time. But something tragic happens in the community, Frank Gilmore loses it. And it's just the passion that he has for his community and his people. And I just applaud him for that. So I'm gonna say a few more words before this is over, but I'm gonna bring up the next guest speaker. And, you know, she's been a pillar in the community for years. You know, in my eyes, I see her as, you know, the modern day Angela Davis, you know, and she's rocking the afro and she's rocking that hat, and she's a beautiful woman, and I love her dearly. And she's doing great work in the community, and I just want to introduce her, you know, Pamela Johnson. Y'all see her in the community all the time, my sister.
Right. So yeah, it's not too many people who can get me to speak when I am not on the speaker's list. But at the last moment, and I will definitely step in and speak for my brother, Frank Educational Gilmore. Y'all here for Frank? Y'all here for Frank? Come on now. We got to make sure that we're here for him, not only at a fundraiser, but we're here for him in those streets, trying to get folks to understand why we need him as our next Ward F council person, right? And why we need our family and our friends and anybody in our community to know Frank. So if you can host coffee clutches in your backyard, and you can do any type of event in your house, if you can do any type of support for Frank, he needs it all, because we are against a mountain. But we've climbed mountains before as black people, okay? As black men and women, we've been through some struggles, and we've always ended up on top. Even if those struggles still exist today, we still stand here strong and vigilant and resilient and determined to make a change. So I am happy to be here speaking for my brother, Frank Educational Gilmore. And we are in those trenches when it comes to our youth and our young adults engaging in violence or any type of conflict in our community that can have them in a position of danger. And we support their families through that conflict. And I'm a little, so Frank is, like TP said, he's always smiling, and he never really loses it until somebody loses it, right? To a family loses, a child has lost their life. And I'm a little more of a firecracker, and I'm always losing it, right? So when people are talking trash on the outside, but not stepping into the trenches with me and Frank, and not being warriors to the movement, but you run your mouth, and I'm speaking in the camera. And if you ran your mouth, you know who I'm speaking to, right? Frank gotta calm me down. And I'm so happy to have a brother like Frank, because I need that type of energy to kind of calm me down and put me in a moment where I'm also understanding that people are going to talk, and some of them will never do the work. And so those are the people we have to just walk away from and don't even respond to. But I'm happy to have a brother who is strong enough to not only hold himself up and his family up, but his whole community. And so we need him to be elected as our next Ward F council person. You here for Frank? Are you here for Frank? All right. And Chris Gadsden, I don't know where he went, but Chris Gadsden, you already know how I feel about you, brother. I see you over there. You already know I love you. And when folks come at you on social media, who be right there championing that? We gonna go toe to toe, because we can't have that. Right? Speak the truth and speak truth to power. Don't lie on our people. Because we had too many lies being told on our elders in the past, on the folks that we stand on their shoulders, our ancestors, that we will not allow you to belittle or try to disrespect our leaders today in any way. So Frank Educational Gilmore, Chris Gadsden, June Jones, Elvin Dominici. Am I forgetting anybody? Oh, Louis Spears. Come on, y'all already know. I knew Louis since he was 9 years old in the church, okay? Louis Spears for mayor. And so we support these brothers and sisters. We support these kings and queens because we know their work ethic. We know who we can call on when we can't call on anybody else. And I'm not talking about a donation to an event that we're having. It's easy to write a check. I'm talking about you being boots on the ground. I'm talking about you being in them parents' homes and apologizing and crying in front of them, with them, because how you disappointed them and how you have not shown up for them. And you know who you are. And you continue to run on a ticket that has been for himself. Team Phillip is only for Team Phillip. Okay? So when you continue to be with a team who's only for himself, you continue to look ridiculous in our community. And we will not stand for it, and we will not support you. Know that today and every day. Frank Gilmore for Ward F. Chris Gadsden for at-large. You here for Frank? You here for Chris? Let's go, baby. To the polls we go. Let's go. Thank you.
Strong. This woman is so inspirational, man. She just brings chills through my body, man. I love you, sis. I love you. Before I bring up the man of the hour, Mr. Educational Gilmore, I just wanted to say a few words about this brother because I got so much to share with you guys if you guys just let me. This brother, yes, I have to, Chris. Pam just mentioned how Chris is always being attacked on social media. The funny part about it is, most of the time, it's Frank Gilmore attacking him. So, it don't stop. It doesn't stop. And I just appreciate being around these brothers. You know, they're a little younger than me because this is my son. Frank Gilmore is my son. Okay? Y'all didn't know that. I'm just letting y'all know right now. Frank Gilmore is my son. Right? Every time I'm off to the side chopping it up with somebody, here comes Frank Gilmore. Oh, I ain't know y'all knew my pops. And the crazy part about it is, it be people that know me, and they're entertaining his mess. And I'm like, oh my goodness, don't entertain this guy, because he won't stop. And the thing about it is, nobody's off limits. Anybody can get it with Chris Gadsden, Educational Gilmore, and Duquan. He's not here right now, but Duquan also. So it's just the love that we share amongst each other, man. You know, I've seen this brother. You know, it's not many guys that go through or been through what he's been through that comes back to his community and goes above and beyond. His work ethic, I just have to, you know, that's what I'm speaking on tonight, his work ethic. Me and Frank had a long day in the community, and Frank said, TP, let's take a ride to New York over the season vegan and get something to eat. You know, he's a vegan now. We can't really tell no more, but he's a vegan. So we going over to New York, we chopping it up, you know, we laughing, we joking, we get the food, we coming back. Frank gets something on his phone, and something done happened in the community, and you know, Frank is Monticello News. He's on the scene every time. So Frank gets the update through his phone that something's happened in the community. So we get back, we coming through the Holland Tunnel. So he's like, TP. I said, Frank, you can't make everything. You can't do it. He was like, all right. We just I'm gonna take it in the crib. I'm gonna take it in the house. All right, we out. Frank drops me off, right? 2 minutes, and I mean literally, 2 minutes later, he's live at the scene of the crime or the incident that took place. And I'm looking, and I'm checking in, and I'm looking, I said, he just left me, how he there? It's your boy, Frank Educational Gilmore. You know what it is, you know? Right. And that's just another aspect of Frank, you know, and, you know, he does a lot of things, man. You know, he has his community show, which is banging. You know, he got the best community show in the land. In the land. You know what I mean? And I rides out with my brother. But I'm not sure if you guys know, but the work he's put in, it's not only here in Jersey City, because it went national when Ellen DeGeneres recognizes his work. Like, come on, y'all got to give it up for that. You know, come on, give it up for that. You know, we out here working, but this guy is recognized by Ellen DeGeneres. And that's amazing. That is amazing to me, you know, and it was a great day at Lincoln High School, and that whole thing that transpired, you know, and Frank is doing everything in his power to bring change to Jersey City. So, I could tell y'all more, but I'm gonna keep it to myself. I know C. Gad is wishing me to say some other stuff, but, right. We gonna do it, Chris, because we got some other things to talk about. But without further ado, you know, I just want to bring the man of the hour forth. And my brother, you know, I'm going to just let everybody know in front of all of you guys, in front of you, Frank Gilmore, I just want you to know, brother, I love you. Dearly. Dearly. You know, and the thing about it is, Frank is so right for Councilman of Ward F, because this brother not only cares about the community, about the people, he will give you the shirt off his back. I don't never want it because it's always wet. But he'll definitely do that. And that's what we need. We need that here in Jersey City. Somebody who's gonna ride or die for us. You know what I mean? And that's what I look forward to. You know, just to say, me waking up every single day and just knowing that I got a brother in a position that I can go to and get some things done. And that's what I appreciate and I look forward to, and I know it's gonna happen, but it can't happen with talk. We have to go out. We have to go out to the polls. We have to represent in the polls. Just like Pam said, it's easy to write a check, but we have to get out to the polls and vote for this brother and vote for my brother Chris Gadsden, because these guys are here and they're for us. And that's what we need. So, without that, enough being said by me, I'm just gonna bring my man, my brother, my son, Educational Gilmore. I'm so proud of this brother, man. I love you, bro.
I appreciate that. Wow, this is beautiful, man. I want to thank everyone for coming out to support. And it's always important when you can see the diversification, the diversity from so many different perspectives, man. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank everyone for donating. But I do, before I get into what I need to say, I do want to personally thank every speaker that came up here, starting with Robin. Robin, she seen the work ethic. She seen what I was doing in the community. And although she don't want to admit it, you take a chance. You take a chance. And my brother Stephen Campos, he's not here right now. I love him dearly as well. And Robin, just thank you so much for not only just employing me, for being a friend, you know, being someone I can talk to, always like giving me the tough criticism. Because so many times we get people on our corner, they don't want to critically, you know, assess the situation. They always agreeing with what you do. And Robin said, Frank, I'm going to need you to start submitting them invoices on time. I don't care how much I like you, you know, and then she said, for you, that's not a sustainable mechanism for your organization. You have to get your paperwork in line and in order. Although I still struggle with the paperwork, I appreciate that honest heart-to-heart conversation. And my sister Pam, man, oh man, I love Pam. Oh my goodness, man. Pam is just a real warrior that's out there fighting for the kids. I remember when the anti-violence first was getting off the ground, and I was like, I had mixed feelings because I was like, there's a female lead in it, and I'm pissed off that the female are doing the work that the man need to be doing. And she said, bro, it doesn't matter who lead it. We got to get the work done. I don't care who's leading. We have to get the work done. So Pam, you already know, I love you dearly. I appreciate everything you do, everything you continue to do, and everything we're going to do in the future. And my father, Tony Perkins, man. TP, man. TP and Chris have been in constant competition for the best friendship award from Educational Gilmore. These are brothers. Oh, man, my wife always say, like, if I have a problem with something and she can't do it, first thing she say, call Chris or TP. Ain't that who you always with? I almost had to sleep on Chris and TP couch. But, oh, man, I love my brothers dearly, man. They're always looking out for me. They're always there for me. And Sabrina is, well, she don't work for the city no more, but Sabrina was by far the smartest. Yeah, you could clap it up. She don't work for the city no more. Yes, you definitely could clap it up. Yes. Sabrina was by far the smartest employee in the city of Jersey. Like, I could call Sabrina about any problem in the city from any division, and if she don't know the answer, she definitively will point me in the direction where who know the answer at. So Sabrina, I love you dearly. Sabrina have always been very supportive, have always inspired me to do great things, and I love her dearly for that. And Mr. Wiley, oh my goodness, Mr. Wiley is essentially the architect of this moment. because Mr. Wiley have prepared me for this. Mr. Wiley gives me more reading assignments than my college professor. And he give me a timeline to finish, and he want an update on what I read, and he want my assessment on what I read. Said, Frank, I just sent you an email. I expect to hear something back today by 2. I said, well, Dan, you know I'm working, and I only get an hour lunch, and you sent me 72 pages. He said, all right, I'll give you till tomorrow. You know, but I appreciate Mr. Wiley. He just have a plethora of knowledge on just the history of our people, just the way how city government function. Mr. Wiley have been like, he's the architect of this moment. He is the architect of this moment. So, Mr. Wiley, I love you dearly, and I'm going to let the cat out the bag. I hate it. That first block association stuff, you made me work so hard, and I wanted to be outside having fun, and I didn't want to be participating in no block party with no block association. But I got it done. And y'all heard everyone talk about Chris, right? Because you can't mention Frank without mentioning Chris. And as the elderly would say, me and Chris are like Martin and Malcolm. So I do want to bring my brother Chris up right now, so he could say a few words. Because every event that I do is, Chris is doing it too. Chris is doing it too, and I hope he don't get emotional. Chris is extremely emotional, y'all. He's very emotional, but I hope he don't get emotional at this point. So I do want to bring my brother Chris up right now to let him have a few words.
Frank looking good tonight, ain't he? Looking good tonight, boy. Frank looking good. Yeah. Hey, TP, thank you, man, because he really listened to you this time. He listened to you. No, because, you know, in Jersey City, the Sox? Oh, who said socks? Okay, we ain't gonna do that. Oh, he got the same color sock as his shoe. Oh, no, but playing games. Like, he wearing shoes that I would wear, boy. He was cracking on me, whatever, but Frank got the Cole Hines on today. Yeah, Frank. No, but, you know, Frank is my guy. You know, that's a brother, man. Like, we've been through it all. You know, we just battle. We go through the trenches. And, you know, like, we take these daggers and we take the hits. We take, you know, shots from the mayor. We take shots from everybody, man. Press, secretaries, man, news outlets, everybody, you know. But it's great to be in the trenches with someone who, you know, like, we can deflect all that and just be like, boom, get off me. We just rocking for the people. And that's where, you know, like, Frank has really been strength, you know what I'm saying? Because when you out here trying to do right, like, all the time, and you have a conscience, and you are just doing everything for the right reason, like you just want people around you, man. So, like, even over these last 2 years, you know, with the civil unrest taking place inside of this country, we all trying to hold people accountable in Jersey City, you know, and then everybody who's in this room, whether it be Pam, whether it be Robin, whether it be everybody else, we actually are putting ourselves on the line all the time. All the time. Y'all gotta understand something. Like, that's some heavy work. That's some heavy work. And, you know, everybody needs to be invested in this movement right now, because we have the opportunity to kind of like tip the balance of government here inside of Jersey City. And so, like, everybody on Instagram, on Facebook, if you're watching, you know, if you can report again on Hudson County View over here, you know, we got everybody here with these cameras. Please, we have to stress the importance of supporting independent candidates and making sure that we get conscious people inside of City Hall, the mayor, at larges, and on the city council. Because if we fail to do that, we'll have the same nonsense going on in this city over and over again. And just imagine if you had, just imagine what a city council meeting is going to look like with Frank Gilmore sitting there, and then the city, you know, administrator or the the BA or the corporation counsel is saying something real slick, and Frank like, no, you stop it. Cut it out. That's a bunch of nonsense. I'm not voting for it, right? And the beautiful thing about Frank, Frank breaks decorum. So like while you up sitting there trying to be proper, following Robert Rules of Order and all the rest of that, Frank is like, no, the people, and he'll just start talking all off cuff. And that's what you need. Like you need that natural, authentic, real person who can like hold truth and make sure that the people's voice is heard. And that's important with Frank because Frank's about to represent over 50,000 people. Like just imagine, like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you look at towns and everything else inside of New Jersey, that's a city, you know what I'm saying? But Frank is about to take a whole community on his shoulder, the most neediest community probably in the state of New Jersey. Frank is carrying that on his back. And so that's why like it's so positive, Frank, when you out there in the street and every block that he's walking on, they just like, we got you, we got you. And the only thing that we're just sitting back looking for is the vote total, like that vote total, because he ain't, let me tell you something, Frank can do this on the first ballot. Frank can do this on the first ballot. Without a runoff, without anything, Frank can easily defeat Jermaine first time around. I'm just calling it, whatever. First shot. So you're going to see some history being made, and you're going to see an upset, and you're going to see people being shocked. So without being said, I'll leave this microphone alone because I could talk all the time, but Frank got a lot to tell you, and we love Frank, right? We love Frank, right? That's my dude right there. So Frank, take it over, bro.
All right, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, with that being, I just checked the scoreboard. It's halftime, and we're up 12 points, people. We are up 12 points. Your brother Educational Gilmore and the People's Ward F is up 12 points at the half, but we're not going to stop working. So I'm going to need everyone who just turned 18 to make sure they register. I'm going to need the brothers who just came home to make sure they register. I'm going to need those people that's inactive who haven't voted in a while because they feel like there was no meaningful candidate to get reactivated. And we're going to need you to bring grandma to the polls. We're going to need you to bring May to the poll, Day to the poll. We're going to need you to bring all of them out because first ballot is definitely doable. It is definitely doable. But I don't want y'all to just vote for me because I'm a nice guy. I want you to do your due diligence. Check the body of work. Check what I've done thus far. A wise guy once told me the best indication of future behavior is past behavior. And if you see the work ethic on your brother Educational Gilmore, then you know that we means business in the People's Ward F. So, I need to let y'all know what the People's Ward F stands for. That's proactivity, elevation, others, passionate, learner, and an ethical servant, finally. That's why this is the People's Ward F. Now, I like to do a juxtapose, right? Because I'm indebted for my college education, and all I can remember in Rutgers is my expository professor always yelling at me and tell me to see the difference and see the similarities and everything. And at first, I couldn't understand what was the similarities, or I didn't even understand how the two stories were connected to each other. He said, Frank, I need you to unpack some things because everything on the surface is not what it seems to be on the surface. So we're going to unpack some things tonight, people. We are all having the same conversation. We are all having the same conversation. So when you hear my opponent talk about he want a rec center for Jersey City, I too want a rec center for Jersey City. The only difference is, how do we get there? My opponent wants to allow a developer to build 17-story in an area that's zoned for 5 stories. Mr. Gilmore, under the tutelage of Dan Wiley, said, well, if you're putting a Bethune Park across the street from the Bethune Center, why don't you put your rec center there? There you have it. The problem, we need a rec center. The solution, build the rec center. Because these developers are making out like fat rats in Jersey City. And that's another thing. The quality that they're building at these rapid rates are not productive. It's not quality stuff. So I want to say, because they say that they said Little Old Educational Gilmore is blocking the rec center. I'm not blocking a rec center. I'm just not going to have you displace a bunch of people to allow a developer to get 12 extra stories for building, and mind you, he's not even building a rec center. He's putting a white box there. He's putting a white box there. And another thing, my opponent, i.e. the Phillip administration, Jermaine Robertson, are boasting about Berry Lane Park being $38 million. I love Berry Lane. In fact, I don't think no one have enjoyed that park more than me. But I'm going to need to see the receipts. I'm going to need to see the receipt because I just can't understand how something that cost $38 million, the sprinkler system have been broken every summer since it's been there. I just can't understand something that costs $38 million not have bathrooms and locker rooms for our children for 4 years. I just can't understand that. In fact, how do you build a park and not start with the pavilion anyway? I'm no developer, people, but I'm no dummy. I'm no dummy. Now, we're talking about having a safer community. The reality is you can't do it without community and police. There's only one candidate running that can bridge the gap. Ask the police. They'll tell you too. There's only one candidate running in this Ward F race that can bridge the gap between police and community. Frank Educational Gilmore. Officers, I communicate on a daily basis with about the safety and the direction of our community and what we need to be doing. They said, Mr. Gilmore, you're the only one that's accessible. We can't even talk to the other people in administration, and when we talk to them, all they do is give us directions. All they do is give us directions. We lost several individuals within the last week or so. So yesterday, people said I'm always happy, right? But yesterday, I think I lost a day of my life because I'm at the young lady's funeral, and I'm hugging her son, and he's just like worn out. He's like, Coach Wu, I don't know where I'm gonna go from here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know where I'm gonna go from here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I was like, just calm down, whatever. You got my number. You could call me anytime or whatever. You just gotta take it a day at a time. And that's a hard conversation to have with anybody, let alone a 14-year-old. That's right. And then the same exact day, I get a call that has been another homicide, and I go up there, and when I see the mother, I didn't even know that was her son because I remember the kid when he was like 3 or 4. And I'm hugging her, and the sister asked me, she said, Mr. Gilmore, do you feel defeated? Because you out here doing everything, but it seemed like nothing is happening. And I couldn't answer the question, to be quite honest. I just couldn't answer the question. And the thing that enraged me the most, if we know and understand violence, it's a multi-level problem, so it's going to take multi-level solutions, right? But the thing that really hurts me the most is that this administration will not even acknowledge it exists. That's right. Forget the fact of having a solution for it. They won't even acknowledge it exists. You can do 37 press conferences about one event or about Newport Mall. And granted, I don't I despise of all violence. I have zero tolerance for gun violence, despite who's the perpetrator, right? Because I'm tired of mothers crying. But in the same breath, it comes the responsibility of local government to invest in its communities. Again, we need to see where the money is going. Now, we have to be proactive. How do you be proactive, Mr. Gilmore? I don't know. Why don't you try investing in youth while they 7, 8, and 9 so you don't have to house them when they 17, 18, and 19? Because the reality is you're going to front the bill. Either you front it on the front end or you're going to front it on the back end. But the bottom line is you're going to front the bill. Not only that, that's the taxpayers' money anyway. It is not your money. That is the taxpayers' money. So when I see the lack of acknowledgement of the hurt of mothers, and even if you want to be oblivious to what's going on, at least give a update saying that you're doing everything to ensure that the community is safe. Forget about the perpetrators and the victim for a minute. What about the law-abiding citizens who have worked tirelessly, whose taxes keep going up? What about us? Some of these elderly people can't even sit on their porch in fear of something happening. So one of my friends had a candid conversation with me, and she said, Mr. Gilmore, I think you should stop going live and talking about the violence. And I said, why you say that? She said, because it's too much. I said, I'm doing my job. I want it to be too much. I want you to feel how that mother felt who's never going to see her son again. I want you to feel how that mother or that father felt to never hold their baby again. Because there's this ideology that Jersey City is the safest city in the history of the planet. But when I put my Rutgers credentials on display and I begin to unpack things, I see that the murder rate is higher in August than it was last year. But this administration will have you believe that we're headed in the right direction. They are right. We're headed in the right direction with respect to people lining their pockets. They are right. We're headed in the right direction with respect to these developers gentrifying these communities, driving the prices down so they can move in and purchase up all the inventory and then raise the rent. So, in this new Ward F, because we're going to win. This is destiny, people. This is destiny right here. I used to always wonder why I had to struggle and I had to battle all in my life when I was 9, 10, 11 years old. I was on a practice field, people, because the Creator knew that the person he needed to do this job had to be strong, and he had to test me at a young age. At a young age. So this is destiny, people. This is destiny. The only issue right now is it a runoff or is it first ballot? The administration is petrified. They don't know what to do. Just the other day, they offered me almost a triple of my salary. And what you said? You know what I told them. They offered me a promotion. I said, I'm good making 37, 38, whatever I make. I don't know. I don't make cash city checks. But I'm good. Why? Because it's not about money for me. It's about serving the people. Serving the people. That's what I'm about. So in this new Ward F, you're going to have a level of transparency never seen before in city government in the history of the planet. So when it comes time to vote on an ordinance, I'm not voting, you voting. You're going to have a level of accountability like you've never seen before. My opponent said when a constituent asked him a question, why do y'all never come out until it's time to vote? I tell everybody, I can't be out here if I'm working for y'all. Fortunately, we have informed constituents who reply, is it fair to say you're not working now because you're out here? So we're going to have a level of accountability across the board. So I want y'all to hold me accountable, because subsequently I'm going to hold you accountable, because I'm not going to be everywhere all the time. It's just not possible. But I'm going to be accessible. I'm going to be accessible. Yeah, I have 3 cell phones, and I'm going to have 4 cell phones. You can't find one person that said they've contacted me and I haven't got back to them. They may be upset with the result. They may not be pleased with the result, but they will never tell you I ignored them. You can't find a person that will say they haven't seen me. And that's anywhere, up and down the ward. Up and down the ward. Whether it's walking with kids, whether it's jogging in the community, whether it's riding a bike, you're going to see Educational Gilmore out there. And you know the crazy thing about all of these bullet points, if you will, everyone talks about being transparent, everyone talks about accountability, everyone talks about accessibility, but no one really talks about adjustability. The ability to adjust. We're in a community that's constantly changing. Ward F is extremely diverse. And I said, when I get in there, that I'm not just going to represent a certain segment of Ward F. Why? Because I know how it feels to not be represented. And I don't want any of my constituents to feel that way. So we're going to make sure we leave room to adjust. The world is changing, people. No one thought that social media will win elections. No one thought of that. You couldn't have told me 5 years ago that I would win the election because of social media. In fact, I went to school and in communication, we studied media. And even then, I would argue with the professor, like, I don't think that's going to be something that's big. So what I'm saying is, you have to have the ability to adjust, because things are constantly changing. And again, there's only one person that checks all of the boxes in the type of leadership we need. There's only one person. So if you're looking for someone who's just there to make the most money, Brother Educational Gilmore is not your guy. If you're looking for someone to just go along for the sake of getting along, Brother Educational Gilmore is not your guy. But if you're looking for someone that's going to lead the people and put the interests of the people before self-interest, I'm your guy. I am your guy. And when I tell you that this is going to be historical, people, it's because we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. It makes no sense for us to stand in city council meetings pleading for our elected officials for hours to just once vote in the interest of the people. Just once vote in the interest of the people. So in my closing remarks, I'm putting my Rutgers degree back on display. And we're going to draw the juxtaposed position. My opponent has establishment that impairs people's ability to think. I have an establishment that builds individual character, morale, and future. I could have opened any establishment I want, as I am an LLC and not a nonprofit. I could have opened anything to make profit. Instead, I opened a business which incurred debt to serve the community in which I am from. So, if you can't see the clear difference, Ray Charles. Thank everybody for coming out, people. I love you. Go to the website, Gilmore for Ward F. If you want to sign up to help and volunteer, please get in contact with me. And as Mr. Dan would say, hold the line. 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 Yes, sir. I thank you, people. Thank everybody for coming out. Please continue to enjoy yourself. We have karaoke in a little while. Thank you for coming out, people.